for me church obibia mema obibia nso akwaba aha daily TRENZ TV said ye da ye de ensem a etwagu e manga na bremo no nso ebi ababeto efia ye monra ensem no emo
Sedinam Tamakloe Ationo, former Maslow Chief Executive Officer. Ye never kaya on the 9th of June 2026. And a FBI for extraditing no edi baby pimo my Ghana mo say ombra MS7 a 10-year sentence I the amount of say abo on my Ghana pro. In fact, NSC amno eka say the Court of Appeal at the final judgment about bontain you need to say emra FBI for the pimo my Ghana mo hanon ne lawyers file appeal say one na Court of Appeal no enhwe na omo envary the sentence na ye de amano no na ene final judgment no about bonten na very very shocking I just say enipa bebre can wasem say Sedinam Tamakloe High Court a sentence mami 10 years so abo on minor chrono presided over by Justice Emmanuel Ankoma. Yes, and na 2021 mami I can say or call for medication na ewa amanone okoye no ana woboni timo pose omma o my Ghana mu ha biu no nim se oba obeko jail for 10 years and na say June 9th 2026 and FBI for edeno ebaye na waba e de be ni se ho kwan se ma mi be kwa 7 10 years no the lawyers edikodan the appeals court say wonom eko file appeal na ene na judgment no eba abonten now judgment no bae no Court of Appeal Acquits and Discharge Sedinam Tamakloe Ationo says prosecution could not prove case beyond reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt being Sedinam Tamakloe Ationo charges de ebon me breakwa says stealing, conspiracy to causing financial loss to the state, causing financial loss to the state, causing loss to public property, improper payment of public fund, unauthorized commitment resulting in financial obligations to government, money laundering and breaching of the Public Procurement Act. Ebusia charges edibo Sedinam Tamakloe Ationo ebinye adenti ne ya akwete no yenhwe ne yentie ensema efri the appeals court city amene ekase.
Big development, big news at the Court of Appeal following this very important or this very critical decision taken by the court. And in fact, today it wasn't for arguments; they just came to listen to the court and delivering this particular judgment. But prior to this day, basically the defense counsel, I'm talking about the lawyers for the first accused person, Sedinam Tamakloe Ationo, argued that the charges, I'm talking about the 78 charges that were slapped against their client, were fundamentally defective. They said they were overbroad, they were vague, and in fact they could not really appreciate these charges that were preferred against their client. And they prayed to the Court of Appeal to, in a way dismiss or quash the judgment made by or the ruling by the Accra High Court Financial Division, presided over by Justice Fiasewa Asari Buchi in April 2024. So basically, in that ruling or judgment today, presided over by Justice Emmanuel Ankoma, flanked by two other judges, simply said that the court has, quashed the decision of the Accra High Court, and the reason is simple. It says that the court or the prosecution could not prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. Basically, that was what the judge said in his ruling. He indicated that the judgment itself is about 94 pages, so they are unable to read everything right now. So the judgment just took about 5 minutes, and he said that later in the day, the full judgment will be out for all of us to peruse, to appreciate what exactly went into that, the reasoning of the court, among other things. But it will be very important to now get reaction from the various counsels, particularly lawyers for the defense or the plaintiff, I must say, Sedinam Ationo, who came to the Court of Appeal seeking to overturn the ruling of the Accra High Court Financial Division. So we can engage the lawyer for Sedinam in this particular case just to appreciate what he makes of this development today. We'll do that shortly, but remember, Sedinam Tamakloe was in the US, was extradited to Ghana on the 9th of June this year, after following, long or prolonged or long-standing legal issues in the US, she came to the country and was sent to prison. There were issues whether she was in prison or not. Then we had confirmation from the Interior Minister and other officers who confirmed that yes, she was indeed sent to prison. But today, based on this decision by the Court of Appeal, she's a free woman. She could go out and chill, right? That's basically what this decision means today. And Mami, remember that this case was one of the major cases in this country, and remember, between 2013 and 2016, she served as the Maslock CEO, and after she served her term as the Maslock boss, she was arrested by Iyoko, and eventually she was arraigned before court, saying that she misappropriated state funds, among other charges. The charges were 78, including conspiracy to stealing, causing financial loss to the state, among others. And eventually in 2021 she sought the leave of the court to travel to the United States to seek medical attention. But what happened was that once she went there, she never returned to this country. She was tried in absentia, and on the 16th of April 2024, the Financial Division of the Accra High Court convicted her and sentenced her to 10 years imprisonment with hard labor. So let's now try to get a few words from the lawyer for Sedinam, Tamakloe, just to appreciate what he makes of this particular situation. Counsel, thank you very much. You are live in Joy News. What would be your preliminary statement following this particular decision by the court?
Well, thank you. First off, let me seize the opportunity to thank my lords for the erudite judgment they have given. So yes, as you may already know, the judgment will be ready by close of today, and so we'll all pick it up and then read it, and then we can do thorough discussion on same. However, the crux of what my lord said today is that in fact Sedinam, my client, is indeed acquitted and discharged, and that the charge sheet which founded the allegations against her were defective, and so same could not have as it were founded the whole process or the entire process. Once the foundation was weak, then everything that follows will fall.
So let me understand this better. When you say the foundation of the charges were weak, what exactly do you mean? In fact, in your argument, you said that the charges were fundamentally defective. Explain to me in simple words, what does this mean?
So the reason I'm going to refrain from doing that, because I want to see the reasoning of my lawyers, whether they as it were agreed with me entirely, or perhaps they also had some issues, so that we don't miseducate the public. So we can speak on this maybe subsequently. I'm just applying for the judgment because, like you heard, Milo said it will be ready today. So I'm applying for same. Once I pick it, we can always have thorough discussions on it.
The court said your client has been acquitted and discharged. What's the arrangement? Is she going to be out of prison today?
So we'll have to take the necessary steps and then bring the judgment to the attention of the Republic. And then she'll be released from prison.
So based on the step, when do you think that she'll be out of prison?
So like I just said, we've just applied. In fact, we are applying for the copy, a certified copy, and then we'll take the necessary steps. So from my end, I would wish that she's even out now, but of course, these things, there are procedural steps to take. So we'll ensure that we do everything today and then as much as possible before the week ends. We anticipate that she should be out.
You have been very close to this, to Sedinam. What was going through her mind ahead of this judgment today?
Oh, of course, I mean, in matters like this, I mean, she's always been prayerful. She's a person of faith, so she's always been prayerful, and she's always, I mean, been convinced that, I mean, once the Court of Appeal, I mean, went into the matters, I mean, she will be set free. So, I mean, this a victory for the rule of law.
Maybe just on the side, what about people who are reading political meanings into this? We had arguments in the past about that, because she's affiliated with the governing party, among other things, that could possibly help her in getting this. What would be your reaction to that?
Political, well, unfortunately, I'm a lawyer, and so I can only speak to issues of law. Okay, so I'm not a politician, so I can't speak to, and then I can't, I mean, prevent people from having opinions. So, I mean, it's entirely their call. But that's why I'm saying, once we all get a judgment, we would appreciate exactly. I mean, and for anybody who wants to do a good job, they should apply to the court and get our submission, get the proceedings, and then they would appreciate our case better. So, I mean, no politics. I'm not a politician, so I can't speak to politics. But the law is the law. Is the law.
Thank you very much, counsel. So that is